Hello, welcome to the inaugural edition of Marty's Minute. I am Marty. My name is Marty Cobb. I'm a certified alcohol and drug counselor, and I am personally in recovery from alcoholism for right a little over 29 years. Um, I've really had it on my heart of late to start something like this so that hopefully we could create a dialogue publicly uh, regarding addiction and abuse. There are so many half truths and myths and things that people believe they know that they really don't know, or it sounds right, but it's really not. Um, and when it comes to alcoholism and addiction, there is so much suffering, so much suffering. No one wants to live the way an alcoholic or an addict lives. No one wants to treat their families and their loved ones the way alcoholics and addicts do. Um, and it is sad the way that things are in this country. Rather than, in most cases, trying to be uplifting and understanding and offering some sort of help or guidance, most people's first response is to punish. And I think part of the reason for that is when you look at the behavior of the alcoholic or the addict, it's bad. I mean, there's not any way to deny that. I mean, when someone is stealing from their mother, when someone is driving intoxicated, has a wreck and injures someone, when someone, you know, is drunk and abuses their wife or their child, when someone is high and they come into work and injure someone at work, when the law has to fill the jailhouses up from people who are on alcohol or drugs, all many people see is the bad behavior and don't see it, that understand that what they're actually seeing are symptoms. And I think the public really should learn to separate symptoms from the condition or from the addict or the alcoholic. I mean, think about it. If someone has diabetes, you don't you're readily able to separate the symptoms of diabetes from the sufferer of diabetes. So I'd like to see us be able to do that with alcoholism and addiction. The thing that I think we run into more often than not is people tend to take the symptoms personally. And here's what I mean by that. If my child becomes an alcoholic and steals from me, let's say, all I know is I have been wronged by a person that I have loved and been good to. And so I quite often, as a parent, will take that symptom personally. Or I may even see it as a failing in myself that somehow or another I, quote unquote, did something wrong. And the truth is, he probably didn't. He probably didn't. Um, but quite frankly, the symptoms of addiction do look a lot like bad behavior. And that's why so many years ago, because addiction is a condition that involves changes in brain chemistry. Um, Years ago, doctors couldn't look at brains. Today, we can scan a brain while it's while the person's conscious, and we can actually see a craving in an MRI. Years ago, they couldn't readily understand that, and so they just saw bad behavior, ipso facto, bad person, and they turned that over to the legal system. Now we have made tremendous strides in this area. Uh, it's been a slow go, but we've made some good strides. There have been some real pioneers. Dr. Father Joseph Martin, for those of you who don't know of him, he was a giant in this area. He was a Catholic priest in the 60s and 70s that went around lecturing the country on what addiction was and how best to help the addict or the alcoholic. And because of him and people like him, the dynamic shifted. Um, for the longest time, if you were an alcoholic and you had bad behavior as a result of the alcoholism, they saw you as a bad person. You were put into an asylum, strapped to a bed, and when you stopped screaming and messing the sheets, they gave you a sandwich and sent you home if you didn't die as a result of the withdrawals. It was absolutely barbaric, but at that time it was seen as, well, that's what they deserve. When the truth is, alcoholics and addicts are people. There's somebody's brother, somebody's sister, somebody's father, somebody's mother, somebody's son, somebody's daughter. They are people. They're individuals who are suffering just the same as people who are suffering from depression or bipolar disorder or schizophrenia or any number of mental health disorders, any number of physical disorders. They are suffering from a condition. The good news is today is there's a lot of hope available for people who are suffering from this condition. There are more treatments available than ever. Hopefully, over the coming days, we'll talk about that some on here. I hope to have further posts. Um, I'm not going to get into any one particular form of therapy or uh, side with any particular form of therapy. The truth is, and I get asked this a lot as a certified alcohol and drug counselor, what's the best treatment in the world? And the best treatment in the world is what the addict will do, what you can convince them to do that is good for them. Um, and that often can be very difficult because one of the things that happens to the addict or the alcoholic, and we'll talk about this again in future episodes, the brain of the user, the brain of the alcoholic or the addict actually shrinks. You've heard of pickling your brain. Well, there's some truth to that. And so what happens is the brain shrinks. The part that shrinks the most is the frontal lobe. That is the seat of reason, the seat of logic. That's where the addict or the alcoholic weighs consequences. That's where they love their family. That's where you make the decision. If I do this, it'll hurt my wife. If I do this, it'll hurt my husband. If I do this, I'll get fired. If I do this, I'll get arrested. And that is the part of their brain that is damaged the most by the use. So that is why you can see alcoholics and addicts make incredibly crazy decisions. And anyone else looks at them and says, you know what? That's nuts. But to that alcoholic or addict, it seems perfectly normal because the part of their brain that tells them it's nuts is not functioning right. And the only repair for that is abstinence and time. And so you won't hear me talk about anything in particular as far as favoring one therapy over another. It's whatever works for that person. Uh, if you have a family member who's suffering from this, send us to this page, send us to this channel, send them to this channel. If you like what you're hearing, ring the bell, hit the subscribe button. I understand that helps. This is so new, I don't know quite how, but please do so. Please feel free to leave a comment below. I would, in future episodes, I hope to, or future posts, I hope to respond to comments. But if you're going to leave a comment, I have a few rules. First off, don't be negative. Don't be ugly. Don't be mean. Number two, leave your first. I want the comment to have your first name, and number three, I want you to have the town that you live in. So, because I will not respond to anonymous comments, I need to know your first name and the town you live in, and then whatever comment or question that you have, and hopefully in coming sessions we can talk about those things. As I begin to wind this particular episode down, and I hope that you have found it to be worth your few minutes that you took to watch this, and thank you for doing it. If you're an addict or an alcoholic who's watching this, I want you to understand that you are of value, and there is hope for you. And if you can just get beyond the pain, there's a life out there ahead of you that is more beautiful and more wonderful than you can possibly imagine. It's just going to take some work to get there. If you have a loved one who is suffering from this condition, there is hope for that loved one. Don't give up on them. Don't give up on them. And for the rest of you, please remember my mantra, always be kind. ABK, always be kind. The world sure could use more of it. The thing about kindness is you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to worry about somebody catching you being kind. You don't have to worry about being videotaped and posted on social media and people going, oh my God, he's so kind. Kindness leaves a mark. Kindness changes people, and kindness can change the world. Be kind to each other, but more importantly, be kind to yourself. Until next time, if nobody's told you today they love you, I do.